Egdon Heath, England, November 1848. Vast earth and sky, air thick with mythical possibility. Land pierced by the lone crossroad of hard labor and enduring hope. A flash of lightning illuminates the dancer atop the distant hill of Rain Barrel. She is wrapped in the shadows of dusk. The wind and rain swirl about her in tumult. She dances passionately, desperately, cradling the moon in her outstretched arms. She startles, interrupted by a human presence on the road below. She vanishes into thin air as a bonfire appears where she stood. Other bonfires follow on the nearby hillside as Diggory Venn enters on the road below. He is stained all over with the red dye sold by Reddleman to mark sheep, lending a Mephistophelian air to the already eerie, lonely heath. From the opposite side, Mrs. Yeobright enters, walking towards the quiet woman inn. The two couldn't be more different. He, a young man whose kind face is nearly eclipsed by the mark of his profession, and likely smelling of sheep. She poised, proud, hardened with age, and as immaculate as the 19th century countryside will allow.
Ah, Miss Yeobright. Good evening.
Do I know you?
I'm Diggory Venn, ma'am.
Not Diggory Venn, the farmer's son.
Yes, ma'am, I used to visit your niece, Thomasin, when she first came to live with you.
I remember. The farmer's son.
It's been a long time since then, ma'am. I gave up the family farm and became a Reddleman.
Well, that does explain your coloring.
Yes, I suppose that may have startled you. I've grown used to it myself. I never was much to look at anyhow, so it's no great loss, I suppose.
Why give up the farm to wander your whole life on the road?
It seemed to make sense 2 years ago when I left. I haven't been back here since. Oh, which brings me to... I need to tell you, ma'am, I came back because of Thomasin.
I can't imagine what you mean. Thomasin was married today.
I see. She did say something.
You've spoken with her?
She saw me on the road near Anglebury and recognized me, and she asked if I would drive her back home. I didn't think I should ask her to explain.
And you drove her to the inn?
Which inn?
Mr. Wildeve's inn. She's married to Mr. Wildeve.
Damon Wildeve, the engineer?
Well, he was going to be, but he's the innkeeper now.
I wouldn't have thought she'd marry an innkeeper.
I wouldn't have thought she'd marry him. But it's too late now. They had the ceremony at the church in Anglebury this morning, and I'm on my way to meet them back at the inn.
But Thomasin isn't there.
What do you mean?
She's asleep in my wagon.
Why on earth?
Thomasin enters, slightly disheveled, in her finest light blue silk dress, missing a ribbon from her braided hair.
I'm here, Aunt.
Thomasin!
I need to tell you. Oh, will you walk home with me, Aunt?
I could drive you.
Thank you, Diggory, but I'll walk from here.
Then I'll be on my way.
Diggory!
Yes?
Thank you.
Good evening, miss.
Diggory Venn exits slowly, lingering long enough to hear Thomasin's answer.
Thomasin, why are you here?
I'm not married. When we got to Anglebury, there was a problem with the license.
How could you have let...
I couldn't help it. It was no one's fault.
Nothing ever is. And what do you think will become of you now?
Please, Aunt. You know he promised.
Oh, Tamsy, my poor girl, you're too trusting. To take a man like Damon Wildeve at his word, and to come home unmarried, driving back with a Reddleman? Can't you see how shameful it looks?
But Diggory, Mr. Venn, he was only being kind.
And was Damon Wildeve only being kind when...
How much time do I have?
A few weeks until you can't hide it. But even if he had married you today, everyone will know it hasn't been 9 months.
It almost will. I'll marry him at once, as soon as he can change the license. I know he means to do the right thing. He wouldn't let us live in shame.
It's different for a man.
But Damon understands. He must.
Not if he's caught up with that witch, Eustacia Vi.
How can you say that?
People talk, and I don't want them talking about you. Go straight home and don't say a word to anyone. I'm going to the inn to speak to Mr. Wildeve. He had better convince me he means to marry you right away.